Hello and welcome back, my name's Sullosian and this is another Skywanderers video. So, just because I haven't really had time to do any content recently, I decided to do a sort of tutorial. It's just sort of to help give you an understanding of what is possible with the logic system, and with a bit of time, well, a lot of time in this case, and just, you know, a bit of thinking. You can perform some pretty and construct some pretty cool things. Just sort of a bit lost for words at the moment, but I'll just try and make it make sense shortly. Anyway, so this is a robot, as you might be able to tell, and the aim of this design, despite the fact it is pretty awful looking, don't know what sort of robot I was aiming for, but the idea is that you are able to control the robot from a computer screen elsewhere, and you can use it to manage security of sorts on your spaceship or space station. So the other thing you could also do, just for a little bit of lively decoration, so to say, on your spaceship, if you're a fan of Star Wars and you've seen the mouse droids before, they're just the little black mouse droid things that run around the corridor. They squeal a little bit. I think in one of the movies Chewbacca like roars at it and it squeals and runs away. Anyway, you can sort of create something like that, but you know, I'm not very good at logic at this point in time, but even being bad at logic, you can sort of just set something up. So you press a button and it goes on its little journey. I'll just sort of move this floor stuff so you can see it all the way across. But basically I've just got a rail under the floor here. I'll just move the logic cover off. So basically that's just a kill switch to stop it from turning. Reactivate that. And now if you press the button on it, then that activates that switch there, which sends it on a journey down this pathway on a rotator. And the rotator is on a loop, so that way it constantly sort of twitches. Now I was aiming for more of a zigzag motion, but it's kind of hard to do that in limited amounts of logic. I'm trying not to get massive amounts of logic. I mean, it's just a little robot. You mean, like, you don't need heaps of logic to make this thing work, in my opinion. But turns out you do need a fair bit. So I'll also just cover on how this little kill switch works for the twitching. Basically, the developer added a new block recently called the quick kill switch block. So basically, what I had to do in my shuttle, I'll just show that to you now. So we'll just grab this, grab that, and it should be a Sullosian shuttle. We'll just load this in. Open the door. So basically, when you're in this ship, if you wanted to fire a missile or a gun, you would activate this safety switch, and then turning it off and on would fire it as well, which was a bit of a bad thing. But basically, you had to do a whole lot of logic just to get that to work. Like, there were, in this case, AND gates, switches. It was just really tedious. You had to set up a whole bunch of other logic, and I've already forgotten how it happens because there was just a bunch of logic involved in it, and it was just way more complicated than it needed to be. It was kind of nice, the fact that you had to have logic set up and you would have like a wall of logic just to get what this one block does now. So I'll just sort of show if I can get a switch. So you get a switch, and assume I got it. You get a kill switch. So you have your input to whatever it is, say a button, and then you have the kill switch activated to this black square here, and depending on this, sort of allows an output to happen as a yes or no. So you can send a signal here, and if this is set to off, then no signal will get past here. But if this is set to on, then the signal is allowed to flow to the output, and then it will output a signal. So I'll just get that there, get a button, and attach that to that. So at the moment I can press a button and it will fire and it will shoot through the roof. If this is disabled, I can press the button, nothing's going to happen. So that's just a new development update of sorts, but I'll just sort of try to show you what I tried to do with the robot, but it's been taking a lot of time to get it to work in a decent manner. Covered a bunch of the logic up. So basically it's barely even functional and I'm already a few rows into the logic, because you need to animate basically all the movement. So I've used hinges on the legs, and I'm not very good at animating, so it's not going to look very good at all. But if I activate that button, nope, not that one. So that activates the movement and the legs. You can sort of see the legs moving a little bit. So I'll put the flashlight on. Yeah, so as you can see, not very good. But we can also, from here, jump into its control, and we can gain control of it, and we can also aim the gun, and I'll just go third person. This is basically the only working part of it at the moment. The fact that you can go into its control, move its torso and hand, and shoot. Yeah, so I think you get the idea. It's pretty sub-average, the animation skills are awful, and it requires a lot of work. But I think you can just sort of get an idea that it is possible to do this. So this is only like, well, turns out it was about an hour of work just trying to get all this stuff built. So I built this entire corridor here, I built this robot thing, and I hooked up the logic to the legs, and I sort of had to learn all this stuff on the go because I wasn't really sure where to start with it. I just had a general idea of what might be possible and like the dimensions of the robot to get it as compact as possible. So hopefully you can just sort of get the idea that you can in fact animate these things, you can get a working robot, and hopefully in the future I will be able to show off a proper working robot that will be walking down the corridor. He will reach the end, he will turn around, and then he will walk back this way, and then if you want you can interfere his walking cycle, just stop him where he is, go into robot view, and control him to kill an intruder. Yeah. So, sorry about the lack of videos recently. I've been extremely busy, as I always say that I am, but not much longer. Shortly after Christmas time, there will be an increase in videos because I will not be working as much. So, without further ado, I guess thank you for watching. I hope this sort of covers a little bit about what is possible with the brick and logic system. I will do another video showing off more information about it, and I will try to improve on the build of it all because it is pretty, well, I guess lame is the best way to put it. It's not very good at the moment. It needs more work, and I need to practice more with logic and animating. So, yes, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video, and thanks.